Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. It is Thursday, June 16th, 2016, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, the Craigslist advertisement that suggests a new domestic terror plot. Then, Hillary condemns other countries for how they spend their money, but she has no issue accepting the funds for herself. After that, the CIA admits that loose immigration policy aids the plot of extremists, and the epic debate between facts and talking points. That's next.
Black and support a racist. That's sad. That's real sad. He's against you. Why will you support a racist? He's going to send you back to Africa. That's what he said. He said send Mexicans back to Mexico. You are a disgrace to America for being a young black man supporting a racist.
Well, fresh off of President Obama's epic takedown of Donald Trump, whereby he just proved that he's more upset about Republican rhetoric than he is about actual terrorism, now we have John McCain coming out and saying, you know what, Obama is directly responsible for the Orlando attack. So he took it even a step further than Donald Trump. So Senator John McCain was talking to a group of reporters, and he did say President Obama was directly responsible for the terror attack in Orlando due to his failure to combat the rise of the Islamic State terror group. He said Barack Obama was told, before he pulled everybody out of Iraq, al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what it is today, thanks to Barack Obama's failures. He pulled everybody out of Iraq, and I predicted at that time that ISIS would go unchecked and there would be attacks. It's a matter of record, so he's directly responsible. Ooh, indeed. And giving a little bit more weight to that argument, now Breitbart is reporting on a memo that was received by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, shows that the Obama administration aided the group that became ISIS to control the area where ISIS formed the caliphate. Now, this is a secret classified intelligence report. It was sent to Hillary Clinton and other top U.S. officials in August of 2012. The report confirmed that Western and Gulf states were joining with Turkey to support the Syrian opposition to dictator Bashar al-Assad. Now, the report confirmed that the Syrian opposition was being led by three groups, including al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later became ISIS. Now, the report confirmed that al-Qaeda in Iraq was communicating through spokesman al-Adnani, who is now the chief spokesman for ISIS. So Western and Gulf states helped the Syrian opposition groups to control the Syria-Iraq border. And this is, of course, where ISIS later violently formed its caliphate. And the report noted the potential for safe havens under international sheltering. This is similar to what happened in Libya. And all of the areas that are cited in this memo have now become the sites of ongoing ISIS terror occupation. So this is a memo that was received by Hillary Clinton about a month before the attacks in Benghazi. And Eric Prince, who was the founder of the global security firm Blackwater, told Breitbart News about the fact that the Obama administration was using its Benghazi consulate in relation to sending weapons to these Syrian opposition groups. And I know we've reported on that as well. And so, of course, 1 month later, that consulate was attacked after Hillary Clinton received the documents. And that's not all. So now we know that the nations that Clinton came out earlier this week, she was bashing several nations for terrorism funding. And she said, we've got to take these out. Well, it turns out they were directly funding another person who wants to hurt this country, Clinton herself. And the trio of nations that were named by Hillary Clinton contributed between $16 and $40 million to the Clinton Foundation. So during her speech, she said, for starters, it's long past time for the Saudis, the Qataris, and the Kuwaitis and others to stop their citizens from funding extremist organizations. They should stop supporting radical schools and mosques around the world that have set too many young people on a path toward extremism. But she failed to mention in her speech that she has received direct funding from these terror nations directly to the Clinton Foundation. So, these are kind of things that she hopes no one's going to check her on, and the mainstream media really won't check her on these things. And she's going to hope that her followers are just too stupid to say, well, why should we criticize them? Shouldn't we be criticizing you for, once again, she doesn't also speak out about the fact that they're chopping off women's heads and treat women worse than they would a parakeet. So, and just to give you a little bit more stories to show you that they know exactly what they're doing when they're creating order out of chaos. Now the CIA chief has come out to say the Islamic State is working to send operatives to the West, and they might be exploiting the immigration issue. Duh. We've been telling you that for quite some time. So this is CIA Director John Brennan told Congress that state militants are training and attempting to deploy operatives for further attacks on the West. They'll rely more on guerrilla-style tactics to compensate for their territorial losses. He said Islamic State is probably working to smuggle them into countries, perhaps among refugee flows, or through legitimate means of travel. So, of course, that means they're going to be tightening security, looking for these so-called lone wolves and things to be springing up in the West, knowing that they're being shipped in, knowing that they're already coming across the border, knowing that they're going to be exploiting the refugee crisis. But are they doing anything about that? No. 441 Syrian refugees have been admitted to the U.S. since the Orlando attacks. It hasn't even been a week. So that's nearly 500 people. Imagine how many people have been coming in the weeks prior to this. Dozens of those Syrian refugees have been sent to Florida. And according to a new polling data from Reuters, it shows that support for a temporary ban on any Muslim entering the United States there's a surge in the amount of likely voters who are actually beginning to support this temporary ban, because people can see, no, this is not racist and it's not political incorrectness. We need to start taking care of our own country and considering what we're doing when we are bombing up all of these other countries out there that are turning against the West and then bringing these people in who hate us. It's ridiculous. And you would think that they would do that, but that's really not the plan. The plan is to turn this country into a police state. It's to allow them to bring all of these people into our country and terrorize us so that we all ask to be protected. Because as we're going to see, they're going to be ramping up the amount of TSA presence as well as security that you're going to be seeing all throughout the summer after these attacks at concerts, football games, baseball games, any kind of sports games that you're heading to, travelers. You're going to be seeing a ramp up in security screening as well, because they're really concerned about homegrown violent extremists. And that was a narrative they really pushed out with this most recent attack, that this guy was a U.S. citizen. He was born in New York. So this is homegrown terrorism. He's a lone wolf, when we already well documented how his ideologies were imported by his father and by getting radicalized online. As well, he traveled to Saudi Arabia several times. So this was an imported ideology, but we're going to be seeing a lot more of that happening in the future. But they're going to police all of us because of political correctness. And they're really talking about the fact that this environment, even with where we can clearly see what's happening, they're particularly concerned about homegrown violent extremists, including and really concerning right-wing extremists. So what do they want to do? Tell us to give up our guns. This is Jay Johnson. Matt Drudge tweeted out earlier. He said, you know what? Give up your guns first, buddy. But that's their plan. They can see, like, look everywhere. There's terror all around you. It's not safe, but we'll protect you. So give up your guns. We will put the police and the TSA everywhere you go. We'll take care of it. We'll protect you. You don't need to protect yourself. And we're really seeing a doubling. It's like insanity. Coming up later in the show, and to be talking with David Knight about what's going on in Venezuela as a perfect example of why we need to not listen to this government when they tell us that everything's going to be fine as long as we give them all of our guns. They'll create peace. They'll take care of us. That is a huge trick. It's a trap, and we cannot fall victim to it. Now, President Obama's plan, of course, is to abruptly take Second Amendment rights away from everyone. And also, we have our own police chief here from Austin, Texas, Art Acevedo, who was at one of these DHS meetings, who really, spoke up to remind the council, hey, it's not just these Islamic extremists. We also really need to be worried about right-wing extremists domestically. That's just as real as the threat from Islamic extremism. So good job, Art Acevedo. Well, guess we won't be having you back in the office anytime soon, or maybe we will. Maybe you can come explain yourself. But even with all of this rhetoric and what we're seeing in the media, I believe it was reported that the loudest claps at the vigil for the Orlando victims was when they said, we need to support the Muslim community. We need to this. And so they're like, yay, yes, love conquers hate. Yeah. But even with that agenda that we're seeing being pushed out, people are breaking through the conditioning, and we're actually seeing gun sales surge among the LGBTQ community because they know what's going on. Even when you tell them, oh, this is not what you need, they can see that it's time for them to start protecting themselves. A lot of arms dealers are reporting 3 to 4 times what they normally see. They said it was expected. They weren't surprised by the sales surge because it's similar to what happened after Sandy Hook and the Aurora Theater shootings. But what is different this time around is the clientele. Now, the Pink Pistols is a national gun club for gays and lesbians, and it saw its membership soar from about 1,500 members on Saturday to 3,500 by Monday. So dozens of new chapters are springing up. People can see. And then we were actually just in West Hollywood a week or so ago where everyone was out there celebrating Hillary Clinton. It was like the only place we could find a massive number of people that were just celebrating Hillary Clinton. The streets were painted rainbow flag. I mean, but now, if we were out there now, we would be so surprised to see that West Hollywood has been inundated with pro-gun, pro-gay posters, and these are popping up everywhere in West Hollywood. It's a gay version of the Gadsden flag featuring a rattlesnake on top of the gay rainbow with the hashtag shoot back. So we're going to start seeing this more proactive approach to self-defense in the gay community. And indeed, you know, they need it because now the police are looking into a Craigslist ad that was posted threatening more Orlando-style massacres in San Diego. So this is just someone who's going to post something anonymously. So they're looking in to see where it came from. But, you know, active threats. And a gun range here in Texas, the Shiloh gun range, which is just on the outskirts of Houston, is actually saying that their classes, they were offering free courses for members of the LGBT community. And it's been so popular since the Orlando attacks that they're actually having to increase that, offering even more classes. And they're recommending that gun ranges across the country start doing this to educate people and make this community who probably used to not really feel very welcome at a gun range, thinking, well, we don't fit in here, letting them know that this is 3.8% of the population that we need to tap into to let them understand the importance of the Second Amendment. Whereas you see on the left, they're trying to get that 3.8% of the population to give up the guns and to fight for tighter gun regulations and things. So I think we're breaking through the conditioning there. People are starting to really see what's going on. Now, this is something that happened that when I saw this at first, I'm thinking, why is the former head of the CIA starting to sound like he's listening to INFOWARS? Because he's talking about the fact that political correctness is hampering the anti-terror strategy. So this is former director of the CIA and the NSA, General Michael Hayden. He was appearing on CNN, and he warned that political correctness has become a significant hindrance when it comes to countering the threats of Muslim extremism. We've said that as well. He went on to point out how in Fort Hood, the Army knew that Nidal Hassan had become extremist, but they whitewashed all of his reports to make it sound as though it was a good thing that he had all this knowledge because they didn't want to be called bigots. They didn't want to have to deal with someone's religious freedom there. But then you kind of see where he's going with this. It's not about taking away the political correctness. It's almost countering that. Well, we don't care if we offend you at all. It's free speech. We're going to offend everybody. But now it's constitutional correctness. Now they're just going to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to be politically correct. We have to look for terrorists. And don't forget, anyone can be labeled a terrorist and put on this terrorist no-fly list. And you won't even know how to get your name taken off of there. But Jake Tapper is asking him, do you want to just go right into their Facebook account? Do you want to get access to their emails, to their phone, to all of this? And then he goes on to say, well, there was a national outcry that the National Counterterrorism Center had too many people on the no-fly list. But then by Christmas night, the complaint was that there weren't enough people. And so we're probably going to be seeing this again, that there aren't enough people on the no-fly list. And you see, this is one of those words that we're really hearing put out, that even Donald Trump is meeting with the NRA to talk about this no-fly list and how that is going to be the new thing that keeps people from being able to access guns. So I'm sure we'll be keeping our eyes on what's going on there. But one of the things that's becoming a challenge for the internet, which, as we're seeing, this is right at the time the FCC is clamping down on control of the internet. The social media giants are having to fight back against the fact that people are live streaming these attacks. The Orlando shooter was updating Facebook in real time with what he was doing. And of course, the deadly attack on a policeman and his wife in France was right there on Facebook Live, a 13-minute video of this attack taking place. And so now we're going to start seeing a crackdown on social media because they're getting sued. One of the Paris attack victims' father is actually going to be suing Google, Facebook, and Twitter, saying, they let their terrorism spread. They let the propaganda spread. And this week, the FCC upheld the commission's net neutrality rules on Tuesday. So this allows the agency to regulate the internet like it's a public utility so they can have more control, and they don't want any free exchange of information in a technocracy. So we will definitely be talking more on that, as well as the hackers who've released the secret Clinton docs from the State Department, which is DNC's Trump opposition file. We'll have more on that coming right up. And then joining us from Dallas, Kit Daniels. Well, thousands of alleged DNC documents have been released online, and this was a hacker who has released these secret Clinton docs, and it's all the Trump opposition file. So this hacker kind of went online and said, oh, you don't believe me that I really accessed this? Well, boom, here it is. It's a hacker identifying as Guccifer 2.0, and that's an homage to the now imprisoned Romanian hacker who was the one who actually first revealed that Hillary had a private email. But now he's saying worldwide known cybersecurity company CrowdStrike announced that the Democratic National Committee servers had been hacked by sophisticated hacker groups. I'm very pleased the company appreciated my skills so highly. But in fact, it was easy. Very easy. And so he's just kind of bragging and saying, shame on CrowdStrike. Do you think I've been in the DNC's networks for almost a year and saved only 2 documents? Do you really believe it? Here are just a few docs from many thousands I extracted when hacking into the DNC's network. And so this first document that we have featured here is the DNC's 200-plus page opposition research file on Donald Trump. It details the party's narrative regarding the presumptive Republican nominee. So this hacker just did Trump's camp a huge favor. It's huge because, as he can see, their whole game plan, and it almost reads like a timeline because you can see the things that they struck with first. He treats women bad. He's a liar. He only cares about himself. He offends minorities. He's racist, bankruptcy, his foreign policy. So these are all things that we have seen happening already, but there are other things on there we haven't yet gotten to with the media and the Hillary camp attacking Trump. So these are things that we should expect to see in some of these campaign attack ads that Hillary Clinton hasn't even started attacking Donald Trump yet. Of course, she's been having to work on Bernie Sanders up until last week. So now, Trump might have a little bit of the upper hand with these opposition files. We'll have to see if Guccifer 2.0 is going to release anything else. But something very interesting, last night or the other night, I reported about this apparent hack, and the DNC said, don't worry about it. They haven't been able to access any of our donor information. No money, nobody has been exposed as far as their address and this. But that's not true, because he also pointed out that that was a total lie. And this hacker, he or she, released the donor information as well. Just a few pages of it showing Morgan Freeman and Steven Spielberg and Barbara Stifel, random people, all of these companies, showing millions of dollars being donated to the Clinton camp. I guess we don't have any of their super identifying information there as far as their address, but we know what state they're from, their names, how much they donated. So once again, the DNC lied to its donors, not only didn't tell them that they had been hacked into and trying to work on it for over a year, but continued to take in that personal information and then lied and said, don't worry, it wasn't, ever at any kind of a threat at any point. Now, Hillary Clinton also came out and said that this was atrocious and that, how could a government server be hacked like this? It's not safe. Total irony lost on the fact that she herself set up a home brew server, which clearly wasn't safe at all because the original Goosefer was the one who was able to access her files. But, that's neither here nor there. Now we're going to be going to tonight's Trump rally. There on the ground, we've got our reporters to see, if Donald Trump's got a new card up his sleeve. Joining me now from the ground in Dallas at tonight's Trump rally is our reporter, Kit Daniels. Kit, what's going on? Describe the scene.
Yes, I'm here in downtown Dallas, and what we've seen so far is a huge police presence. I don't know if you can see it on camera right now, but the local media was reporting yesterday that they were expecting about 3,000 to 4,000 protesters, and the Dallas police did a riot training in Fair Park yesterday. They took the threat very seriously. Now, that said, since I've been here, I've only seen about 50 protesters. And I've seen there's been waves of Trump's people coming to see Trump the past hour and a half. I've seen probably maybe 5-6 times as many Trump supporters than protesters. This was strange. I've actually seen a lot more people with INFOWARS shirts than Trump protesters. Now, there's been a couple of factors. One thing is the police taking this place very seriously. They have put down perimeters, barricades, what have you. And actually, I think in a way they've overreacted because it's hindered my ability as a journalist to report on this event. For example, there's a parking lot outside the event where they're having the media stand. And there's a building right there. And across the corner of the building are the protesters. And the police kind of got them in a free speech zone. And I tried to walk over there, but the police stopped me and says, hey, you can't come on the sidewalk. You got to stay in the parking lot. It's like, well, how am I supposed to go over there and report on the protesters? Like, well, you can come over here, but you can't go back. Meaning I can't go back outside the Trump event. I wasn't even going to go into the Trump event. So, I understand how the police are protecting the people coming to see Trump speak from violent protesters like we saw with Sha'Carri Jackson, who got hit with a rock, I think, in Albuquerque. But, we should be able to protect Trump supporters without infringing on the First Amendment and freedom of the press.
Exactly. And so from what you can see with the protesters, is it the typical grievances? Are we, he's racist and this and that, or what were you able to find out? Yeah,
that's the one thing in the past 6 months since INFOWARS started reporting on these Trump protesters. They're all the same. They all use God Wants Law, for example. They call Trump a Nazi. Trump's racist. They use straw man arguments. Like when I was in Wisconsin, for example, this lady told me that Trump wanted to deport African Americans back to Africa. I was like, well, when did he say that, ma'am? He was like, well, one of his supporters did. And I was like, who? David Duke? That's not Trump saying that, So it's like Trump gets blamed for stuff that he's never said and he doesn't believe. So, it's the whole thing, you got these protesters that come out here with the same signs, regardless of what part of the country you're in. You see a lot of anarcho-communists. And a lot of these people, the thing I noticed about the Trump protesters is they want to rabble on and on about Trump, but they don't have any solutions on their own end.
Exactly. And as we can see, those talking points come directly from the Trump opposition file, which, of course, now thousands of these alleged DNC documents have been leaked online, where it shows their talking points and then their backup talking points when those talking points seem to fail. And it is Trump's a racist. He treats women bad. He went through bankruptcy. What do you think anything is going to happen at tonight's Trump rally? Will he talk about the fact that this hacker kind of did him a huge favor here?
That's a very key point you just made, Leanne, because what I've seen from these Trump protesters at the Trump rallies, it seems like a very top-down movement. They're getting their orders from above. This is not a grassroots Trump protest. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's some like grassroots people that are coming here to protest Trump, but they're very few and far between. So that's why you're seeing this homogenealogy, if you will, with the Trump protesters. They're getting their orders from George Soros. They're getting their orders from George Soros groups. Even if they're not directly on George Soros's payroll, they're still getting orders indirectly.
Absolutely. And of course, all the propaganda that they get in schools, like we spoke to someone during the Ask Me Anything who said that his dean actually scolded him for wearing a Make America Great Again shirt. So at all directions, these kids are getting propagated to. Well, Kit, thank you so much. Where can people go to watch the videos? I know you guys are going to be there in Dallas. If anything does pop off, uploading stuff from Trump's event.
Yeah, we're going to be uploading to the Real Alex Jones channel on YouTube and also my YouTube channel, Resistance News. So check both of those out. And also visit INFOWARS.com throughout the night, and especially in the morning. We'll have some videos uploaded there as well.
Thank you, Kit Daniels.
Thank you.
Now, after tonight's Trump rally, the guys are going to be heading to Houston and then on to Phoenix. They're going to be filing a lot of reports, hopefully getting to speak with some of those protesters there. And if they don't have them set up in a free speech zone in these other areas, we'll be able to see sort of the debate between the pro-Trump and the anti-Trump people that are showing up to these events. And hopefully we're going to be getting some more epic debates, just like the one that you're going to be seeing in the segment coming up. It was a 16-year-old boy who held his own in the face of people who were just yelling racist this and racist that, and man, just calmly slamming them down with facts. It is an epic takedown. You're not going to want to miss it, and that's coming right up.
Small U.S. cities with access to affordable housing and manufacturing jobs are quietly receiving the bulk of Obama's invading Islamic Jihad army, stretching unsuspecting local city budgets to the breaking point. Bold statement yesterday on the Alex Jones Show, retired DHS officer and whistleblower Philip Haney explained why radical Islamic terrorists are falling through the cracks despite unprecedented government data gathering.
When you encounter people coming back from flights from overseas, or when they're preparing to depart, to go outbound, we call it, to go overseas, we have the authority within the border, a greater amount of authority than the CIA and the FBI combined, to gather this kind of basic intelligence information. And over the years, we have been handcuffed more and more to the point where we're barely capable of gathering the kind of information that we could then share, let's say, with the FBI.
Some targeted American cities are already being pushed over the edge. For example, Amarillo, Texas, known as the Yellow Rose of Texas, one of the largest meat-packing cities in the United States, home to the V-22 Osprey hybrid aircraft assembly plant, food giant Cargill, and also home to Pantex, the only nuclear weapons assembly and disassembly plant in the United States, has taken in well over 1,000 Middle Eastern refugees already, the highest in the nation. But when you add refugees sent to Amarillo from countries outside the Middle East, the numbers skyrocket. WorldNet Daily reports Amarillo has received 5,251 foreign refugees since January of 2002, according to the Federal Refugee Database. That's more than half of the nearly 8,000 refugees sent to Texas during the same period. President Obama has increased that number of foreign refugees bound for American soil in fiscal 2016 to 85,000. That's a 20% increase over the previous year, and 10,000 will be coming from the jihadist hotbed of Syria. Many of the community organizers have received training or consultation from David Lubell's Welcoming America organization, which was started with seed money from billionaire George Soros. Breitbart reported in January of 2016, Amarillo Mayor Paul Harpole said, "We've been a giving community, and it's a huge disservice to bring in refugees in numbers that we're not able to handle. We create small ghettos." The Amarillo, Texas mayor continues. A group of Somalis came in to say that they had elected a mayor of their community. Then another faction claimed they had their own leader. We come to find out that rival tribes, slaves, and masters were being settled together. Amarillo 9/11 calls are now being fielded in 42 different languages. Harpole told Watchdog.org that Washington pays schools only $100 per refugee student per year. He continues, "We have 660 refugee kids who don't speak English, and the U.S. Department of Education says they have to be at grade level within 1 year. It's a ludicrous requirement. They don't even know how to use the bathroom." And while Governor Abbott and the Texas Health and Human Services Commission continue to push lawsuits against resettlement organizations and the federal government for not presenting regular consent as required by federal law, crime levels in Amarillo are reaching levels on par with much larger cities.
Amarillo also has the highest rate of reported rape in Texas. The rape epidemic in this world is becoming pandemic. It's not confined to one location.
Even the Muslim convert CIA Director John Brennan has declared that terrorists are using the refugee system to infest the United States. Meanwhile, Amarillo immigrant Mohammed Maghadam, who came to Amarillo 8 years ago, recently held his manager and another person hostage at gunpoint because he was passed over for a promotion for his job at Walmart. A SWAT team responded and proceeded to fatally shoot Maghadam. Was it workplace violence or a seed from a growing problem in Amarillo? Again, Amarillo refugees are creating separate ghettos with their own leaders, with their own ways of collectively non-assimilating. Refugees immediately qualify for full welfare benefits, green card status within a year, and receive full citizenship, including voting rights, within 5 years. It's as clear as the nose on your face. An invasion of our taxpayer dollars, our schools, our city budgets, and our voting booths is fully underway, driven by big business for cheaper labor and the misleading Obama administration wielding a divide-and-conquer agenda that is becoming clearer every day. Funded by, yep, you guessed it, the American people. The future of the meaning of even being a citizen of the United States is on the chopping block. John Bound for INFOWARS.com.
Young black men supporting a racist.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
That's sad.
That's awesome.
How does your parents feel about you holding a Trump sign?
They're Trump fans too.
Where they disgrace to America too, because he doesn't like you or your
all my
parents.
friends are immigrants.
You didn't answer my question, by the way. Yeah, you didn't answer our question.
And they're happy.
What has he said?
He said send Mexicans back to Mexico.
No, he said.
He said don't let Muslims here.
Yeah, he said.
Why?
Are you gonna let me talk or are you gonna yell?
No, I'm telling you
Oh,
because
you're
you holding
gonna
this
yell.
Trump
You're gonna
flag
yell.
and you
So we
need
can
to
have
be
an
taught.
educated conversation, can we? We cannot do that, right?
And then
Oh,
kids
okay,
are
okay.
telling you
Well,
against your own
she
people
just
about
graduated
holding
high
Trump
school, so
flag.
she's not a kid no more. Okay. Listen.
What would you tell him when a racist tell him send Mexican back to Mexico?
He said
What would you
send
tell a
everybody
young
back.
black man?
I only believe that he's going to send illegals back.
Yeah, exactly.
He said in
That's
your
what he
face,
said.
send Mexican back to
He said
Mexico.
illegal.
Just illegals.
Illegals.
Only. And
Please.
he's
His
not
wife
legal.
is not legal. She's from Europe.
She's legal.
How she was born in Europe?
Okay,
Why
but
would
she
why
has
would
a
her
U.S.
husband be
citizenship.
running for president? If
But she has U.S. citizenship, so that's just because she was born in another country does not mean she has a legal
That's
citizenship.
say to you.
That's fine, you don't
were
have
real
to.
lad.
You
If
have-
he's
and I can say
elected,
the same thing about
he
you, but I
would
would
be
not say that
against
because I have
you
a
because
bigger
of your
mindset
skin
and I'm
color,
only
young
16,
man.
and you're probably like 30 something, but
I
you're
believe in
you're
Black
yelling at a
Lives
16-year-old
Matter. He's against
for his
black
candidate.
people.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Go listen to him
Yeah.
speak, and he'll prove you wrong. There are many black people who support Trump.
Plenty of
We
them.
came with it.
I think his VP
So
might be
many?
black.
How many?
Oh, how about you guys at that rally? You see a lot of
Yeah,
black
we saw a
people.
lot.
You know what?
The media won't show you that though.
People in there gonna stand up against Trump.
Okay. You
More
sure,
black
sure about that? Sure about that?
Black people that he asked his security guards to kick out of the rally.
Oh, and Valdosta State?
Yeah.
Talking about, oh,
Yeah.
they were protesting against him.
Yeah, and what is that?
You
That's
cannot
shit.
protest in a rally. Then why would you do that?
Why? It's freedom of speech.
We don't go to your rally. We don't go to your rally.
been there.
He does the same thing to white people too. So I don't understand. He does the exact same thing to white people too. So
and that makes it okay.
I mean, if
They don't
you're
let
gonna protest against us,
They
yeah,
don't let Trump supporters like freely protest.
Okay.
You should go get educated on what's
Oh,
important.
I'm very
and what's-
educated,
yeah.
ma'am. I'm very educated.
We're being
Thank you.
educated.
Really
That's
sad.
why we came
Sad that you're
here.
brainwashed.
Because we learned about our
Sad. It's sad
What'd
that
you
you're
graduate with?
brainwashed.
What's your degree?
Where'd you graduate with?
That's not the question.
Yes, it
is.
The question.
Are you educated in economics? Are you educated in any sort of political background?
I've worked on many campaigns, and it's so sad.
That's very vague.
It's very sad.
What campaign?
It's very sad that
I
you're being
worked for
so
our
big.
president twice.
Okay. One of the worst guys ever, but okay.
Oh yeah, one of the worst guys ever. Let's look at the condition of our country.
This country
8
was
years.
built on love, not hate. Donald Trump is a hater.
That's fine.
He's a racist.
He's not. It's not.
He is a racist.
He's getting
You know this country is built on religion too, not religion.
He believes in hate.
You know this country
Do
is
you
built on
know the
religion.
history of his grandfather and father?
my
They
God.
was KK members.
This-
They own real estate
How do you
in
know that?
New York.
How do you know that?
Go Google it.
No, you Google it because
Go
obviously your
read the
facts are
history
very
of Donald Trump family.
misconceptive. You have very horrible facts. You come
He
to me
will
with
allow black and
you
Jews
calling me to
and
lie, so I don't know if I can
properties
believe
in
that.
New York when he
I
bought
was gonna look it
property.
up for myself to
That was
understand
his
the
grandfather and his father was KK members.
Okay. That's
Go
fine.
read the history.
KKK members, you mean
Yes.
not KK members?
They
I don't
was
think
Ku
that's a
Klux
group.
Klansmen.
Okay.
KKK.
Klansmen, okay.
Who's against your color?
Okay.
Against your skin?
KKK.
Against your people, your
I think
ancestors?
the Democratic Party founded the KKK, by the way. Just saying.
Let me tell you,
What
I'm for the
political party
people.
was it?
It's
Yeah,
not
what
because of
political party?
Democrat or Republican. I'm for the people.
Okay, that's good.
The people are united, will never be defeated.
Okay.
And that's what I believe in.
And Trump,
Donald Trump
believes
trying
in that
to
too.
divide the country.
He's not trying to divide us.
Yes, he is.
He's trying to unite us. Just because his policies are not like yours doesn't mean he's not trying to.
What you mean qualities?
I said policies.
Policies?
Yes, but you're spitting at me.
When a person tell Mexicans to, he gonna build a wall to send
What do
them
you
back
mean
to
why?
their
Because we have
country.
so much illegal immigration. That's why.
Look at his wife. How you think she got here?
She's legal.
She's not legal.
Yeah, she
She's
is.
from Europe.
There's a way to legally immigrate.
Exactly. Did you
She's
not know
she
that?
wasn't born
You
in
don't know
America.
that. Oh my God, this is not
I'm
making
gonna
sense.
argue
my
with you young
grandparents.
people
Yeah, because
that
you don't
will
know
realize
anything.
one
my
day
You need to
great-grandparents.
go learn how to
Telling
spell
the
your
truth,
first
if you
name,
become
go to
president.
college, get a high school education, and then you come back and talk to me. Thank you.
And joining me in studio now is David Knight, and we're going to talk a little bit about the situation going on in Venezuela. The long bread lines have now turned into violent protests as people are becoming increasingly more hungry, more desperate, and I really feel as if we're not being shown exactly what's going on down there, because this is a huge warning to what we could expect here in America. Not only warnings about citizen disarmament, but also the trick of falling for this utopia of socialism.
That's right, Leanne. They've been sold the socialist utopia, and there's a newer, more subtle spin on this socialist utopia that we're going to talk about in just a moment. But I think it's truly amazing to see that as this is unfolding, and we're getting all these tales of massive privation. We see the Venezuela's top court has said the media cannot publish videos of lynchings. This is how bad the violence in the street is getting. But we've got what I think really amounts to a French Revolution moment here, where we've got Marie Antoinette saying, let them eat cake, and they live their life of luxury in Palace of Versailles. This is what's going on in Venezuela right now.
Right. I mean, and it's absolutely disgusting. And this is, I'm always saying, if you want to know what this socialist utopia is going to look like, just watch the Hunger Games. It's a perfect idea of what, you know, the majority of us are going to be dealing with.
We got Hunger Games in Venezuela right now.
Hunger Games going on in Venezuela. So we're seeing middle-class people just like you and I who are getting desperate. They want to feed their kids, but now there are reported injuries. Hundreds of people have been arrested, at least 5 people are dead. Angry protests breaking in grocery stores and businesses. The protesters have also attacked the headquarters of President Nicolas Maduro's Socialist Party there, and they are demanding to be fed.
Yeah, they're eating dogs and cats in the street, and yet we've got these pictures of dogs and cats who are starving as well. Dogs and cats can't get any food either.
Right, yeah, just starving dogs and cats. And then there's gangs on motorcycles who are trying to fight over the right to control the distribution of food because, of course, the population there has been disarmed. Maduro said that, you know, that had to happen a few years ago to bring peace to the country because they knew it was coming. But then here on the other side, we've got these super rich socialists here who are just living in the lap of luxury, sipping on champagne and
like $100,000 a year to stay in this country club. $100,000 a year.
Gorging on this food.
Yeah, they have no shortage of food there. Look, they saw this coming. 4 years ago, they began gun control. Last December and November, we were talking about how they were hunting policemen down in the streets to get their firearms, okay? And this is what people need to understand in this country. First of all this talk about gun control, they're doing this because they're concerned they're going to lose control. And we're going to talk about their method of control that is a soft kill that's coming up for us. That's what they talked about at Bilderberg, and we've mentioned that before. But when you look at those pictures of what's going on in Venezuela, just remember they began 4 years ago with gun control. They spent $47 million to set up 60 centers where they were going to have gun confiscation. And then after that, as we reported last November 4th, you've got the policemen, 252 security officers had been killed for their guns from January to October. That's about 25 a month being hunted down and killed. One guy, the first one they talk about in the Guardian story, 18 years in the police force. He's on his way home. He's shot. They come after him. They search him. They don't find a gun. They kill him anyway. Okay. He's got a family. This is where this is headed. And this is where people everywhere, I mean, including the law enforcement officers, need to understand where this is going. But there's another interesting article we had today, Leanne, and that was a college professor who's rejected socialism. He's traveled around the world and he goes, yeah, I understand the theories, understand the utopian promises, but I saw the reality. He says, I went to the USSR, Eastern Europe, China, Cuba, etc. And he said, I saw that socialism doesn't work. It's a revolutionary imposition, and it inevitably leads to cruelty, injustice, and the loss of freedom. He said, I could see the same pattern in the many failed left-wing revolutionaries in Latin America and elsewhere. I succeeded in disabusing myself of the utopian notions that fatally attract people to these leftist ideas. Now, he's learned what's going on, but of course, Bernie Sanders, or as I call him, Bernie Sandernista, he never understood. And he is indoctrinating a new generation of lugheads to follow these Pied Pipers down the path of destruction. And of course, Hillary Clinton has an advisor who hasn't learned this yet. Of course, this is a Nobel Prize winning Joseph Stiglitz, an economist. He won the Nobel Prize during a 2007 visit to Venezuela. He said this: Venezuelan President Chavez appears to have had success in bringing health and education to the people in the poor neighborhoods of Caracas. It's not only important to have sustainable growth, but to ensure the best distribution of economic growth for the benefit of all citizens. And he still holds to that. And he is somebody who has been put on he's an influential advisor to Hillary Clinton.
And of course, he can get away with making that statement because they're controlling all the media that's coming out of Venezuela. So you can see the reality of it.
And as reported multiple times, it wasn't just gun control, but it was also product control, water, food, medicine. This article from 2 years ago, Bloomberg Press, okay, it's back June of 2014. They said, by putting off the local companies responsible for supplying everything from diapers to cancer meds, Maduro can preserve access to debt markets, and he can protect oil shipments. It would be vulnerable, okay? They say the government's priority, this is an analyst at Barclays, and he tells this to the New York Press. He says the government's priority is to pay the sovereign debt. In other words, the government's priority is not feeding its citizens. This Marxist government, this utopian Marxist government, their priority is not to feed the citizens, but to feed the bankers, okay?
Wow.
And so what we see with Bilderberg, they talked about the precariat, and I think they deliberately put this term out there because this is nothing but Marxism repackaged. But what's really dangerous about it is that they're now getting libertarian think tanks to sign on to this as well, Leanne.
Right.
And so when they talk about the precariat, remember they're talking about class warfare, the proletariat, who are now in a precarious position because of globalist policies, because of open borders, because they have shipped jobs abroad and imported workers, and people in the West are suffering from this. So how do they control these people who are getting increasingly angry? And they understand that it's not just the globalist policies, but it's also the technological changes that are down the line. Because the guy who has popularized this put this out on the Singularity Hub, talking about how automation, not just immigration, is going to take people's jobs. But this is what's scary, Leanna, and this is the fact that we've got Forbes magazine, we've got Business Insider, we've got the Wall Street Journal, and what are they pushing? They're pushing a form of socialism and dependence, the universal basic income.
Wow.
And they're selling this as the solution to these displaced and angry people who no longer have a job. And we just saw the referendum in Switzerland a week or so ago. But Forbes is saying the universal basic income idea is not crazy. Business Insider says the biggest obstacle to universal basic income has nothing to do with money. It has to do with us redefining this obsolete notion of work. Now, we've talked over and over again how they say the future does not need us. Well, yeah, the elites don't need us either. The question for the elites that they're addressing at Bilderberg is how do they pacify and control us? And I think one of the most distressing things that I saw, exactly, we have Charles Murray. This is a guy who's a noted libertarian economist. In 1984, he wrote Losing Ground, which is all about how welfare destroys people. It makes them dependent upon the government. He made a very strong analytical case. He looked at a lot of metrics over a very long period of time. It became the basis for welfare reform in the Reagan administration, and yet he is now working for the American Enterprise Institute. You would think that they would be all for promoting free enterprise and work and everything, right? It's funded by the Koch brothers. And what are the Koch brothers and Charles Murray, this libertarian economist, and the American Enterprise Unit? They're all pushing universal basic income, a form of welfare. Why? Because it will make you dependent upon them. It will pacify you. And we have seen this in the Agenda 21 policies in the Northeast that the Bureau of Land Management and the Forestry Services have done, when they said no longer will the loggers in Oregon be able to log, and we're going to just shut down that economy because the entire economy was based around that one thing. They shut it down. They said, don't worry, we'll give you 10 years to adapt to this. Well, there's nothing else that anybody can do in that area.
Right.
They put them on welfare for 10 years, and then they shut it off. They can't even pay their police departments in those areas.
Wow. I mean, that's just incredible, and a huge warning for everyone that we all need to start preparing ourselves and taking care of our families, growing what we can, sharing with our neighbors. We need to use this as an opportunity, a warning to start preparing ourselves and not giving up more to the government.
And understand that it's the left and the right is a phony paradigm breakdown, and the elitists on both sides are joining together to find means to make us dependent upon them.
Wow. Thank you, David. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure and hit the subscribe button, and you can also become a subscriber to prisonplanet.tv.